fascinating. So really fortunate to be here today, really excited to answer some questions we've got as well.
Lovely. All right. Well, thank you both for that. If you don't mind just putting in your name and saying hi to everybody else who's joined in the chat just to keep the conversation flowing, that would be amazing. And we just like to see who was able to join us today. Thank you so much. For those who've joined since the introduction started, just a quick housekeeping again. This will be recorded. It is being recorded currently and will be sent out. And we are talking about all things TikTok Shop. So I'm going to kick us off with just a quick overview of TikTok Shop, what it is, who the main players are, who some of the big players are, and then a little bit of how you can win on TikTok Shop, because ultimately that's what we all want to do. We want to win. So we all know that it is growing very, very quickly, TikTok Shop. We've seen recently more and more brands joining the platform. Most recently, one of the biggest brands in the world, Coca-Cola, joined last week. So that is absolutely massive. We know that this is on the radar of more than just your typical e-commerce brand. This is a big, big thing. So to see someone like Coca-Cola join is just really exciting. Other brands on the platform are Zara, Pretty Little Thing, My Protein as well. I did see Shreddy because somebody's already buying their protein powder, or sorry, greens powder from TikTok Shop. So we also have some other brands that have just absolutely gone all in on TikTok Shop, like, and have gone absolutely viral. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of Nature Spell's rosemary oil because it was flooding the feeds at one point. Splash, which is like the big bundles of toilet roll, which is the most random but also most necessary thing that everybody needs in their home. Made by Mitchell, the makeup brand, Well Guard, and So Sweet. So just like everything on TikTok Shop, TikTok in general, there is a niche for absolutely everything, and that applies to TikTok Shop as well. Currently, they are live in UK and in the States, but they have plans to launch very soon in other countries like Ireland, France, Germany. So keep your eyes out. But basically, this is just one of the most powerful sales channels for brands, and it's so easy to buy. It is fully closed. Once you see a video and you want to buy something, you don't have to leave the platform to make that purchase, which makes it even more addictive. So it's that closed e-commerce loop. It also allows you to work with a whole host of affiliates and just kind of get your name out there with brand ambassadors, and just kind of create your own massive sales force on the platform, which I think they've made really accessible and easy. There's also multiple fulfillment options. So if you're not set up to do it, you can work with TikTok to get you set up. And this is also just something that TikTok wants to have work. They are putting so much resource into this. They are giving promotions at no expense to the companies on the platform to make it more enticing for people to buy right then and there. They also have media spend buckets that they will put behind affiliate content that's already performing well, just to amplify the reach even more. So again, at no cost to any brand that is looking to launch on the platform. This is the perfect time because TikTok Shop won't be doing this forever. Once it's the big success that they want it to be, they'll probably not have to help boost anything anymore. So if you're thinking about getting involved, absolutely do it. But today we're going to be talking about how to win on TikTok Shop. I'm going to kick it off with a couple of questions that we've outlined up front, but ultimately there are open and target plans, which I'll have Ollie talk to us about in more detail. There are also many different ways for you to get your product out there. Just like everything else on TikTok, it is content led. So whether it's your own channels, doing your organic posting, paid media, or lives, you can work with affiliates to do all of those same things as well as influencer. But what you want to do is going to be unique to your business. So we'll just talk through all the options and then how to optimize each. You can start to populate the Q&A section for any questions, but like I mentioned, I'll just kick us off with one. So Ollie, to get us started, can you please explain the open and target plans, please?
Of course, yeah. So we're talking specifically here about affiliates, and I think a lot of companies in particular are really struggling with the world of attribution at the moment. So the fact that TikTok Shop is fully closed loop, as Melina said, you don't need to leave the platform to make a purchase. You can fully attribute everything back So we've all seen influencers on Instagram talk about coupon codes and enter their code at checkout to get £10 off. The big problem is these get shared across loads of different websites, and brands ultimately lose out, and they don't really understand which creators are driving most business. So the fact that TikTok Shop is fully closed loop, you can now have that ability to work with affiliates, and ultimately you work with them to basically say, hey, I've got my product on TikTok Shop. I think you're a great creator. I'd love for you to produce content using my product and include a specific link in your own videos. There's two ways you can do that, as Millie said. So the first is a target plan. So target plan is where you basically set specific commission rates to different creators that you want to work with. So there may be a particular creator on TikTok, they may have 20,000 followers, but their audience are just so engaged and they're just absolutely perfect for the audience that you want to reach. On a target plan perspective, you can set a very specific commission rate to say, and outreach to them proactively and say, hey, we've seen your content, we absolutely love it. We'd love for you to work with us. Hey, here's 20% commission on anything that you sell. You can send out free samples and all that kind of good stuff. So that's proactively reaching out to creators to work with them. On the flip side, your open plan is where you could just set a base commission rate of, say, 10, 15%, whatever you want it to be, that creators can almost apply to be part of your open plan. So essentially, they will come to you, you can vet them, so you can look at their account, you can see if their content's good enough, you can see if they actually gonna create. What you'll find is a lot of people come to brands because they want free stuff for Christmas and birthday presents and never actually post about it. So you're sending out free samples and the content just never gets posted. So on open plan, you can vet people that come to you, ultimately those that you really want to work with, you can send them product and away you go. So yeah, target plan is where you can set very specific commission rates for creators that you really want to work with on a proactive outbound basis. And then an open plan is where people come to you and can opt in to work at your kind of standard set commission rates. Hopefully that will make sense.
Amazing. Yeah, it's a lot of information. So would you say that they typically work together, or would you recommend starting with one over the other?
Yeah, it's a question. If you're a novice, or a novice, that's a bit hard. If you're a new brand on TikTok Shop, you obviously have no real credibility unless you're a massive brand like Coca-Cola, for example. So what you'll find is, well, let's start right. So creators on commission want to make money. Affiliates want to make money. So they want to make sure that they're backing and talking about brands that are selling well, which is why you start to see those like viral products like Nature's Spell, rosemary oil, because everyone was talking about it because loads of it was selling. So affiliates are really kind of makes sense to sell products that are selling well at that time, right? So when you first start, you want to make sure that you're really focusing on your target plan, because you won't have that many reviews, you won't have that many products sold. So you've got to go out really hard to creators that you want to work with and incentivize them to join your affiliate program. So the first and foremost thing to do is a big volume play and just massively get in front of as many creators as you can, proactively reach out to them, set some potentially bigger, higher commission rates. Once they start to sell, then all of a sudden other creators will see this and then they'll start coming into your open plan. So always target plan first, always have your open plan set up, but you're more likely to get more success with target to begin with, and then you'll start to see the reaction on the open plan thereafter.
Love it. Yeah, so it's kind of like a bit of herd mentality, isn't it? Once they see something's working, more people start to come to you. So you just want to get that hype built.
Absolutely.
Matt, so I know you work across some TikTok Shop clients. How would you recommend using the content? Because obviously they all play kind of different roles. So how would you kind of shape your content strategy if getting TikTok Shop to work is the main objective?
Nice. So, I mean, with TikTok, what's great about it is you can split it into kind of as many different areas as you like, but we tend to kind of split it into organic, live streams, affiliates, creators, that sort of thing. So starting with organic, the reason why TikTok is so successful is because you can use it to build a community. that's basically what TikTok is. It's just a community builder. You can get all the people in your niche who like certain things, like certain TV shows, like certain places in the country, etc., etc. You can get them all together in one place where you can kind of share this messaging and this sort of thing. And now with the introduction of TikTok Shop, you can share products relating to that audience to those sort of people as well. So when you're starting out on TikTok, what we always kind of say to people is you've got to use this to build your community first of people who like this sort of product, and then you can kind of push the product to them, if that makes sense. So you use it basically to just get like-minded people together, and then once you've got something which works for them all, push it onto them, and they like it, they share it, go on, go forward, that sort of thing. So similar to the herd mentality thing that you said before. So that's kind of just with video. And then you've got live streams, which are the other side of organic. These are really good as well, because with live streams, you can really kind of put a face to a brand. You can put a presenter to a brand. So you can make it so it's not just like a random brand out there. You can actually have someone be the face, something to recognize. So when they're scrolling, they can say, oh, that's the guy from X brand. That's the guy from so-and-so. That's the person from so-and-so. And you can really get that kind of community built even better. You've got the person who kind of represents it all. So it just becomes more recognizable. And that's what's good about TikTok is it's a great place where you can make your brand more than just a brand. Like it's actually a person, it's a story, it's a journey. And then when you've got things which you can sell because of that journey, then you've already got the audience to sell it to.
Love that. Yeah. And so for the lives, I guess, would you say that this is something like how would you go about testing this? Because I feel like this is new. It's something we see, but it's not really something that's done across all brands yet. Like very few are testing it. So what would you recommend for somebody looking to launch a live strategy, but also with TikTok Shop in mind?
Yeah, nice. Well, a lot of brands are going to hate this answer, but it's the honest one that they've got to hear. You've just got to try, you've got to get it wrong, and you've got to try again and again and again. So there's things that you can get right. There's the fundamentals where, you want to have someone with a nice background behind them, something that's recognizable, something that's show-stopping, essentially. So when they're scrolling, they're going to see it and think, oh, that's cool. What's that? And then start listening. Because what you got to remember is when you're on live, every second there's going to be a new person joining, leaving, and you got to get them to stop. So you've got to do things which, one, are going to get them to stop, but two, give them a reason to watch. So if you're starting live from scratch, you want to have a presenter there who's enthusiastic, who's just good at talking to the camera, quite natural at speaking, good at having, a bit of banter, just having fun, and is happy to be on camera, obviously. And then you want to have the nice background behind them, and you just want to see what you can do. And it's a really crap answer, but it's what you've got to do to kind of try TikTok, because everyone has a different formula which works for them. So like sweet shop brands, obviously they work because what they have is someone there packaging the sweets and giving them out. But that obviously wasn't always the way to do it. And that's not going to be the solution for every brand. That's not going to be every strategy. Some brands do completely different things, but I wouldn't look at it as a negative. I'd see it as a more positive, because then you can create something new, which in future people are going to copy and be like, damn, this guy's doing it. So let's keep on building on that. So you've just got a really good opportunity to try something new.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
love that.
I think just to follow on for that, I think lives are so daunting. Obviously, it is live, so it is scary. And the other thing is finding the right presenter is absolutely fundamental. We've done so many live streams before. We've been up to the TikTok Shop, the studios in London and Manchester, and bought presenters there and stuff. And the reality is you've got to go live for a minimum of 2 hours. So you've got to find someone who loves the sound of their own voice. No jokes about me and loving the sound of my own voice. You've got to find someone who doesn't mind repeating themselves, because as Matt said, people are going to be coming in, they're going to be leaving, and they've got no idea what you're talking about. So you have to think every person is new, they're fresh. So you've got to talk about the product over and over and over and over again. And it is relentless. It's tiring, it's exhausting. So finding the right presenter who can bring your live streams to life is absolutely fundamental. And then just to follow on from that, I think, again, with TikTok Shop live streams, but also TikTok Shop generally, you've got to incentivize someone to buy there and then. It is absolutely critical, because they're scrolling through their feed. They don't know that they want this thing that they've just seen. So what is it that's going to make them buy it there and then? And I think we'll come on to some bits around how you can do that in a little bit. But yeah, so amazing presenter and incentivize action there and then.
Yeah, absolutely. So because this is a new platform, I think that there's probably a little bit of hesitancy for some users. Like they might see something, they might want to buy it, but then they might want to go on Google or go off platform, do a bit more research before they actually make a purchase. So kind of building on what you said, Ollie, how would you kind of use the tools that TikTok Shop gives you to keep that from happening? Because ultimately, once they go off platform, you might never see them again. So what would you recommend?
Yeah, it's good. It's a good question. So, I mean, across all sorts of ways of selling on TikTok, but we're thinking about your own brand channels here. Your own brand channels being your organic, your paid media, or your live streams. Ultimately, there's a couple of things. Again, it's that incentivization to buy there and then. So one of the big things that we see on TikTok Shop is bundles, product bundles, exclusive bundles that you can only get on TikTok Shop. So how can you mix and match a couple of different products that you sell into an exclusive TikTok Shop bundle that you have to buy it there and then? If you don't buy it there and then, you're never going to see it again. So bundles is a really interesting way of doing that. The second one is obviously discounts or vouchers. It's something that incentivizes you to take action there and then. Now, everyone will always see that TikTok, or say that TikTok Shop is a very price sensitive platform. And it's fair. I think it's slightly harder for luxury brands to do well on TikTok Shop. You absolutely can. But what we are starting to see is that ability for, I cannot get this deal better anywhere else. So that is a big challenge for a couple of companies that may have exclusive discounts or offers on Amazon, and they can't beat that price on TikTok Shop, because actually the savvy consumer will go, well, it's 10 quid on TikTok Shop, I can get it on 8 quid on Amazon. So you do have to be really clear and careful about your pricing strategy when it comes to TikTok Shop, but think a little bit more, I'd say clever with it. And I think that's where incentives and bundles are probably more important than price sensitivity, because then you're offering the customer something that they literally cannot get elsewhere, and therefore it takes away that price comparison issue that comes with TikTok Shop.
Yeah, definitely. So price is always going to be one of the main deciding factors of whether or not somebody makes a purchase. But I think there's also something that really is unique to TikTok, where the whole TikTok made me buy it like fanatic thing that's happening. I mean, I don't even know how many views are on that hashtag anymore. All come down to first person reviews. So you see somebody talk about something, they seem so excited, they love it, they talk about how it changed their life or made their life better, whatever it is. So that kind of comes into play when we talk about affiliates and influencers. So there's obviously that price thing that can make it a little bit different, but how could you use some of the partnerships that you can build with influencers and affiliates to help drive that message and get people to act right then and then, right then and there on the platform?
Do you want to take that one, Matt?
Yeah. So what's good with affiliates is, as it's like an authentic experience, people have now got the opportunity to ask people questions. And that's why lives in particular are really good. Because if someone is going to do something, obviously you can only really take Trustpilot's review or, Google reviews of whether it's reliable or whatever. Whereas now you can say, is this actually any good? Be honest, whatever, that sort of thing. And they can give you their experience on it. They can give you more of a just more authentic reaction to what it's actually been like on their life. Because every website is going to say, this is the best product ever, this is the best thing ever. But then and there you can say, is this actually good? Is this good? How do you apply this to X? Or how do you implement this in another way? And they give their different scenarios from it. And it works because you can do it across different videos as well. So, I mean, if you're a content creator, you've got a million different videos that you can make as well. And obviously, the more videos you make, the more likely you're going to get sales, etc. So it does benefit them as well as the person who wants to buy something. So yeah, there's loads of different ways, but I think having the authenticity there is a really good way to kind of build that brand trust.
Yeah, I think as well, like we see so many adverts every day, don't we, that we're getting a little bit blind to these ridiculously nice, like fully airbrushed different types of content. Whereas actually what you tend to see on TikTok is if you're just chatting to your mate at the pub, but at scale. So you'll see this video of someone saying, oh my God, literally, I had this massive stain on my oven the other day. I bought this thing on TikTok Shop and look, it actually bloody works. And that is so much more impactful than someone saying, this is by far the best product that you will ever have to clean your kitchen. It's like it's chalk and cheese, and people want to buy from people. And TikTok, especially through influence and affiliates, basically enables that at scale. So you are turning your TikTok creators or TikTok creators already on the platform, already creating content, into an army of your sales force. And if you trust them to create in their own style, it becomes so much more authentic that people are just like, I can see it. That makes sense. That was me the other day. I can see myself in that person, and therefore I'm going to buy it. So yeah, the ability to create really authentic content is just so fundamental to success on the platform. But you've got to have a lot of trust, and it's scary for brands to really trust creators to bring their products to life in a safe way.
Yeah, and that ties into what I said before about the try and fail thing. Like, you are going to have experiences, as much as I hate to say it, where creators aren't going to deliver exactly what you wanted. But that's why TikTok have tried to counter this the best they can. So when you're searching for affiliates, you can look specifically for who's reliable with products, who has a good amount of sales volume, who has good, often views, that sort of thing, good average views, sorry. You can like filter all these different things out so you can find the perfect creator. If you want an affiliate who works in, I don't know, cleaning, for example, makes content about that, you can find that niche exactly and be like, oh, this will be perfect for them. And then you can incentivize them more using the different target and open plans as well.
Love that. And I definitely think that TikTok right now is still one of the most authentic platforms. Obviously, it's changing as it matures, but for now, and hopefully for a really long time, we keep that and we can keep recommending the best products, because I swear, and this is not just me being a fangirl, I swear some of the products that I have gotten because TikTok made me buy it have really made me a lot happier. Maybe it didn't change my life for the better, but I enjoy it. So, I see a question from Chirag. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. I see, what should the criteria be to hire an influencer? Is that the same question that you had when you raised your hand? Or would you like to ask another as well? Well, let's just, yeah, okay. So, criteria, what would you say, Ollie?
Yeah, I mean, influencers are a different ballgame now. I think what lockdown did was basically TikTok came along and said, why don't you just create, right? Just be yourself. Don't worry about airbrushing or faking your life or pretending you just made billions of pounds on Bitcoin, which is all nonsense. Like, just go and be yourself. So influencers on TikTok are very different. Now, there is one major issue, is that if you purely go based on followers, we know, I'm sure we all know people who had one viral hit on TikTok during lockdown. They may have got 2, 3, 4 million views, and all of a sudden they end up getting 10,000 followers from just one video. So if you are literally looking at influencers purely on a follower basis, that is wrong, because they may have had one viral hit, but they've not actually built a community around what they create, and the people are therefore not influenced by what they say. So from a quality perspective, we always look at average views per video and average engagement per video. That's when you start to see whether this influencer has a genuine community or not. That's the first thing to do. The second thing to do, and it is the absolute Wild West, is understand what is good value for money. So we have had quotes from some creators with 300,000 followers that wanted to charge us 50 quid for a video. We've also had an influencer with 10,000 followers that wanted 3 grand. So there is no specific pricing that comes with influencers. It's kind of what they go like that and make up, basically. So you've got to understand yourself, do you believe that that is value for money? The third thing I would look at is your contracts with them. Your contracts with them are absolutely paramount. And it's not just things like, are they going to create one piece of content? It's things like, how many rounds of amends do you have? How many reshoots do you have? Do you have much scope over what they can and can't say? Now, I wouldn't write the script for them, I'd let them do it themselves, but that ability to amend timelines is absolutely crucial. So we've seen influencers take months and months to get back to us because they happen to be busy or fly over to Dubai and live their best life or whatever they do. So contracting is really important, but it's just those like nitty gritty things that you can add in your contract to just make yourself a bit safer, basically. And then the final thing, and we haven't really covered this yet, is the ability to have usage rights of that content as well. So on TikTok, what you can do is you can place media spend behind either affiliates creative or influencers creative. It's called a Spark ad. So essentially they send you a code. So they post it on their own TikTok account. They then send you a code and you bring that code into your into your TikTok ad account, and you can place media spend and targeting, et cetera, behind the posts. So if you're working with influencers, then making sure in your contracts that you have the ability to place media spend behind their content is, again, the fundamental way for getting success. So yeah, make sure they're actually decent, make sure they're not charging too much, make sure your contracts are watertight, and try what you can to get usage rights. Hopefully that's helped.
Also, one thing I would add is make sure they're talking to your target audience.
Oh yes, that's probably the most important one.
Big one. But yes, all of those things are very, very important. There's no point in using an influencer just for vanity numbers. You want to make sure that it's going to work because, you know, some of them have higher fees, but some of them can offer you really, really big returns. So if it's worth it, if the value is there, go for it. But just like everything else, it is a trial and error process. But it's also about building relationships as well. And that kind of goes into affiliate marketing because you want them to come to you with ideas. You want it to be a collaborative experience. And that's how you're going to get the best out of either affiliate marketing, influencer marketing, just making it a genuine connection about somebody who actually likes the brand or the product that you're asking them to talk about. So the more that you can have that back and forth, the better it typically performs. Okay, we have a couple of questions. I'm gonna start off with a more technical one. So, are there any tools for integration with other existing online shops, or does TikTok Shop operate as its own e-commerce platform?
Do you want to take that one? Yeah, I like the technical question. Matt likes the content, the creative question.
I do.
Got it. You got it.
Let's let you have this.
Yeah. So so basically, if you have an e-commerce website, whether that be through WooCommerce, Shopify, BitCommerce, etc., there are plugins that you can get that will link with your seller center on TikTok Shop. So ultimately, everything is managed through your seller center on TikTok Shop, so you can upload products, but there is the ability to link the two, so your own e-commerce platform with TikTok Shop seller center through things like APIs. So Aftership is probably the most common one that I hear a lot of brands using. And hopefully there's no one from WooCommerce here, but Shopify is the best when it comes to linking with TikTok Shop seller center ultimately.
I just put Aftership in the chat just so that people know how to type it, but what exactly do they do, just for a little bit of background on them real quick?
Yeah, so it helps with things. So distribution or fulfillment and distribution is a big one, and also stock control. So you may have a certain level of stock that is available through your website, but you're also selling some of that stock on TikTok Shop. So it's really hard to know what stock levels you have across both your own website and through TikTok Shop. So the ability for them to speak to one another makes life a lot easier, basically. So yeah, it's just that connectivity, so you've got one single view around how your business is operating, even though you're selling through multiple different platforms.
Amazing. Sounds very useful. We have a question. It says, this is from Scott. Hey, Scott. We have difficulties convincing clients that the fulfillment center is worth it. Do you have any success stories to share or any positive perks from using it?
Yeah, I mean, we used this the other day, just a bit of a test, just to see what it was like. I think one, just for logistics of your business to be run kind of on automation. Obviously, it depends on the size of the business, but we work with businesses where sometimes it's just a couple people running it, where they just want to have that passive income coming in. The great thing for them is it can just leave your business on kind of automated mode. So they obviously will do all the shipment and everything for you. I think the main perk is that it's quick. Like we did a test the other day, we placed an order in the evening and it arrived the next day by 12 p.m. I think that's one of the biggest sellers for, especially with TikTok, because people buy on TikTok because they get that FOMO, they get that experience where they're like, damn, I want something now, or like, that's really cool, I need to get it. I am that sort of guy. I'll see like a torch on TikTok and I'm like, I want to go outside and shine that torch. I want it now. And the good thing with fulfillment like that, when it's external, you can actually get your products the next day / the day after, etc., sort of thing. So the main benefit for me that we've experienced so far is just how easy it is for a brand. If you need to focus on something else, if logistics is a really big part of it that you're struggling with, you want to get somewhere to take the load off it, then yes, that's obviously a big one.
Would that change?
I've just seen Scott's follow-up question. So I mean, this is the hardest thing with getting brands on TikTok Shop, basically, because they may use their own 4PL or they have their own integrated systems that they've built from scratch, which would absolutely no way link with TikTok Shop or fulfilled by TikTok. So ultimately, it's a brand decision based on how they prefer to distribute and how they keep everything in one place. I think to Matt's point, if it is a global brand and they can say, actually, I'm just going to ship this number of products are fulfilled by TikTok. I know how much stock is in there, and I will just do, I don't know, monthly ships or weekly ships or whatever it is. That does have the ability to show how you are performing on TikTok Shop as a bit of a siloed e-commerce channel. So I think it's relatively good value as well. I know they've got loads of incentives to get people and brands to work with fulfilled by TikTok. But yeah, we've had it in the past where there's just so many difficult conversations internally because their systems are like spaghetti. And all of a sudden they're saying, oh my God, I need to now add TikTok Shop to this. And they just get confused and therefore they don't do it. So this is why it's a bit of an advantage for smaller brands who can be a bit more nimble and just get it set up and crack on. Global brands have got a little bit of a challenge.
Okay. And just building on that, on the opposite side, where it might not be as built out, is drop shipping possible on TikTok Shop?
I mean, well, technically, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't need to see the product, do you? You just house it in fulfilled by TikTok distribution centers, and away you go. So yeah, it's no issue.
Love that. Okay. Another question. You kind of touched on it before about higher price point products. So what do you think about them? Bigger purchases that are bigger decisions, for example, furniture. Is there any point putting time into TikTok Shop for something like that?
What do you think, Matt?
I think in the future, yes. I mean, I've not seen loads of examples where it is like really high selling things on TikTok Shop. I'm sure there is some out there. They've just not hit my For You page, mainly because my For You page is just sharks and conspiracies. But there will be some stuff like that which does sell at a higher point. However, in the future, in the next few years, which I know we're going to go on to shortly, I think yes, I think TikTok will have pretty much everything. That's my personal opinion. I think there'll be very little things you can't find on there. But yeah, I think especially because TikTok, like I said before, it is a FOMO platform. It will get to a point where someone is showing around their kitchen or their house, whatever. They're going to see something cool and think, "Damn, I want that," and it will be like, "Right, I can get it. It's linked below." That's the direction I think it's heading in long term. But for now,
Yeah,
I think focus on the smaller things.
yeah. I think it's that the problem TikTok Shop had right from the get-go is that they wanted to launch too quickly in the UK. And what they did was they basically flooded TikTok Shop with loads of like Dyson Airwrap dupes and products that were basically based in China that took 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks to ship. So people's initial insight or experience of TikTok Shop is that they bought a product that's probably a dupe and it took ages to arrive. So TikTok Shop have had to do a lot of investment into changing people's perception of what the platform is. And they're starting to do that. I mean, they wouldn't have got Zara and Pretty Little Thing and all these amazing brands on TikTok Shop if they hadn't, right? But that makes so that the shift is there. I think at the moment, TikTok Shop is a great platform if you don't need to think about the purchase. Because you can see a creator using it. It's a price point that becomes accessible, and you're like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen if that goes wrong? Now, the evolution of that, I think, is where live shopping is going to really take off. I mean, we were chatting with one of our clients on Monday about kind of catwalks and actually the product fit. Well, I'm like 6 foot and I'm 12 stone. How's that going to fit on me compared to a person who may be 5'4" and 8 stone? Like, what size should I get? So I think the ability for live shopping to give more confidence to consumers to buy a slightly higher price point because they can see it, they can see the creator, they can get that two-way dialogue by asking questions in the live Q&A. That's where I think you're more likely going to sell slightly higher price point items, where you get almost more of that one-to-one service or Q&A that almost gives you that confidence to buy there and then, even though it's a slightly higher price point. So that's how I see TikTok evolve.
Amazing. We have a couple of questions about influencers and affiliates. One of them is saying the old way of influencer marketing, old way, because I still think this is used today, is we've kind of talked to people who are targeting a specific niche, send them to a very specific website, and then you pay them for the number of videos that are produced by that influencer. Do we think that this new way, commission-based, is something that kind of helps build that commitment towards a brand, and maybe influence and encourage them to work harder to sell more.
Yeah, I mean, you have to ultimately be more bought in to work on a commission-only basis. That's just fundamental, right? You've got to really believe that the product that you're selling, A, can sell, and B, is aligned with your community. So I've got no issue with commission only. I think what you'll find on TikTok Shop, as we've said a couple of times, the herd mentality. If creators see other people selling it and making good levels of commission, they are more likely to do it. So it's a lot harder for a new company going onto TikTok Shop and expecting creators to jump onto their affiliate program when there's not necessarily a proof point that they will sell. So I think your launch strategy on TikTok Shop has to be very different to your long-term strategy. So your initial strategy is, how do you persuade creators to get on board with your product, whether that's a slightly higher commission rates than what you've been comfortable with, or an element of fee and commission. Once they're in, once other creators start to see your product selling, good reviews, then that's when you'll start to see the herd mentality of creators wanting to work on a commission-only basis, because there is that proof point and validation behind the product. So yeah, I think it will change, but your launch strategy needs to reflect that there will be some initial concerns around the ability to sell that product on TikTok Shop.
What we've noticed as well with that is, with certain influencers as well, if they have that good deal at the start, if they have that good relationship, they do come back for more. Like, I think you've seen a lot in the past of influencers kind of coming in, doing one sort of brand deal, then going off, never talking back. Whereas now with TikTok, you do have them coming back saying, let me know if you're doing any more future campaigns, which a few years ago was unheard of. Like, they would literally just go away as soon as it was done, as soon as the money was paid, you'd never hear from them again. Whereas now they're like, yeah, I'd do that again. Yeah, let me know if there's more products. And it really builds that relationship. If you can give them the good commission early, or you give them a pay at the start and then say, hey, we've got a new product coming out, we want to give it to you first, we'll send you the free product, high commissions, etc. You've got to be smart with how you get them to come back for more. But if you have that relationship right from the very start, they will do it for you.
Yeah, such a great point. I mean, a lot of the clients we work with, we basically try and build the affiliate program or the communication outside of TikTok. Because if you can get them into a WhatsApp group or that one-to-one communication, it's like there is so much competition around particular things like Mother's Day, Black Friday. If you can build a really strong relationship and communication with your affiliates that perform really well, or your influencers that perform really well, they can tell you what they're seeing, what they're thinking, if there's any product bundles that they're interested in. And also you can say, right, guys, we've got this amazing drop coming. We're going to give you 30% commission in this week. Who's in? And because you've almost built that rapport and relationship over the long term, it really helps to just build your ability to nail affiliate marketing down the line.
Absolutely. I think there might be a benefit in explaining the difference between affiliates and influencers. I know that there's a bit of overlap, but just to kind of take it back a step, because we're using the terms quite a bit. So Matt, do you want to explain the difference between the two?
Yeah, sure, happily, because I got this wrong for a long time. That and content creators, they're all very different apparently. So influencers are, the way I like to say, influencers are the bigger creators who have an established following, who have people who watch their videos regularly, comment, that sort of thing. Basically, they are the frequent content creators. Affiliates is a bit more universal because it's for people who just essentially want to make money, I guess, from selling products. That's how I try to look at it anyway. So affiliates is kind of open to anyone, whereas some people pick the influencer route where they do all the fancy sort of side of it. So an influencer, you will pay them traditionally, pay them X amount of money, they'll promote a product, brand event, etc. Whereas with affiliates, it's more, we'll give you a product, can you talk about it? We'll give you sales for whatever sales you bring in from that, basically. Yeah, that's how I tend to look at it. I'm sure you guys can probably explain it a lot better than how I remember it.
Yeah, I think the other thing to remember on TikTok in particular is if you're paying an influencer, then you have much more control, because ultimately they are contracted. So you should have a contract with your influencer, which says how much, how many deliverables they're going to do, when they're going to post. You have a lot more control. You may be able to sign off the content before it goes live. And yeah, ultimately you have a lot more power in terms of the briefing and what you're going to get. On the affiliate side, you are literally sending them free samples and kind of hoping that they do the right thing. you're A, hoping that they create content and post it on their channel, and B, you're hoping that they say the right thing about it. So with the affiliate model, you are much less in control. On the influencer side, you have much more control over what goes out. That's not to say that you can't brief affiliates, but it is a lot more rare, basically.
Yeah.
You are shocked. Some affiliates do make really good content. Like sometimes they are content creators in their spare time, so they are good at it. Whereas other times people are just, they're coming new to this affiliate world, which is great for them. It's great because now anyone can kind of become an affiliate and get this sort of side hustle in. But yeah, you do get good videos from affiliates as well. Like it is kind of harder because they're less experienced traditionally. But again, if you build that relationship from the start and kind of guide them, you don't know, 2-3 years where that kind of relationship can lead to. If they have a big following then, and you are the number one brand that they always scream and shout about, that's kind of a good sign that obviously you did something right back when it started.
Definitely. And I guess just building on something that we talked about at the beginning. So on TikTok, you can have an open plan or a targeted plan. And then there's an affiliate marketplace live on TikTok Shop as well. So you get access to all of the affiliates that are willing to create videos and talk about your product. And just as a reminder, the target plan is when you actively outreach to affiliates, whereas the open plan is where you just set an open brief and affiliates can come to you and apply and hopefully get some free samples to then talk about your product on the platform. So understanding the difference between the two, when it comes to affiliate management briefing, would the process change in a targeted plan versus an open plan? So like, what are the things that we should consider when activating both? Because I do think they work really well together. Ollie, you want to take
That
this
one? Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah. So again, I think on the target plan is you're a little bit more selective. So if you're an avid user of TikTok, you will start to see the types of creators that are selling really well on TikTok Shop, whether that's using TikTok Shop's affiliate center, which you can access through the seller center, or just by being active on TikTok itself. So you have that ability to reach out to creators proactively and say, I love what you're doing. I think you're a great ambassador for my brand or my product. Hey, here's a 30% commission. We'd love to work with you. Now, because you've built that dialogue, then actually you've got more chance of having a conversation with them. That dialogue may be on email, it might be on DMs, it may be on Instagram DMs, however you can get hold of these people, because they're a little bit elusive sometimes, and it's a numbers game at the end of the day. Whereas the open plan, you'll hopefully just be flooded with requests. That's the panacea, right? It's just loads and loads and loads of people have seen your product selling well on TikTok Shop, and they're like, Christ, I need to get on that bandwagon. I need to get a free sample so I can create content with it and hopefully make some commission. So your target plan is much more bespoke, and you're a little bit more in control. Whereas on the open plan, even though you get to say yes or no to who you want to work with, it is a bit more of a free-for-all.
Makes sense. So is there, I think we've mentioned this before, where it's like people can come to us via an open plan, request a free sample, and then not post anything. So that is just something to be very, very conscious of. That's why the affiliate management is going to be really important. You want somebody that's keeping an eye on all of the samples that have been sent out, and then checking to make sure that they actually posted something about it, because sometimes it's Christmas and you know what, people are just trying to save some money. So just a PSA for everybody on this who is looking to potentially launch on TikTok Shop. There are some people that will try and take advantage of the system, but for the most part, it is a very mutually beneficial way of getting your product in front of a lot of people.
Yeah, affiliates do get a score within the affiliate center as well, so you can see ones that are a bit cancers, basically.
Love it. Just while we're on the commission and the different plans, what do you think is an appealing but reasonable commission percentage to offer affiliates on TikTok Shop?
Yeah, well,
I mean, the issue is it's subjective. So some people they like to think, oh, they deserve quite a lot of that. Whereas a business person who's actually smart will say, no, give them a fair portion, a reason to want to work harder, that sort of thing. What we typically see is around 15% is what TikTok tends to give creators from initial default perspective. But it does vary. It is subjective whether you want to give them more, whether you want to give them less. And that's the decision you've got to make. You've got to kind of look at your product, and you've got to look at your margins and that sort of thing. There's lots to consider. If you've got products to give away, if you've got loads of backlog and loads of stock that you just want to get rid of, you know, you can put it higher. It doesn't really matter. It is entirely up to you. That's the decision which you kind of got to make.
Yeah. I think I read something the other day. I think between 8 and 12% is common within clothing and beauty. But again, as Matt said, it all depends on what you're able to do with your profit margins ultimately. I mean, we have seen some clients go as high as kind of 30-35% for launch because they just want to get as many creators just talking about their products as possible, basically. So yeah, it's check out your margins and work out from there.
Yeah, but you do see some creators who will do it like, and they won't take a commission. They just want the product, which is also another like bizarre thing. But you know, it is interesting to see people will willingly make content, not bothered about the money. They just want the products as well. So that's another thing to kind of keep an eye out for. But it can work, obviously.
Awesome. Quick question about live streams. So would you use an influencer to present on a live stream from your own brand, so their own channel? Or would this be somebody that you would recommend that works for the brand? So you mentioned a minimum of going live for 2 hours. And that obviously you'd have to pay the influencer, so that might be a higher fee. So what would you recommend?
Yeah, it's a really good question. It's really good. Let me take this one, Matt, and then you can come in going after. But I think most brands are so keen to use influencers because they're a recognizable face. Now that has its advantage. Okay, so you've got to think about two things. Let's talk specifically now about your own channel. So I am on my own business channel and I am going live on my own channel, right? If people are scrolling through the feed and you are using an influencer that is more recognizable, people are more likely to stop on your live stream, generally. However, most companies that are doing live streaming well are going live 3, 4, even 5 times a week for 2 hours. And influencers ain't cheap. So, and they're not always available, which is a bit of a pain. And they may also go and do some laughing gas in a car and get a photo of them, and all of a sudden their credibility is gone. So there's a big risk from a credibility and a payment perspective when using influencers. Now, the dream on your own channel is if you can find somebody in your organization or through an agency or whatever who is charismatic, they love your product, they come across well, and they do live streams consistently, all of a sudden they in themselves will become recognizable. And it is much more accessible to use that particular creator on a more regular basis. So my honest opinion is don't worry about influencers because it's just too hard to manage and too expensive. Try and find those creators you can almost turn into internal influencers that become recognizable because of their on live streams regularly. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, sums it up perfectly. I mean, with live, you've got to be reliable, not reliable. You've got to be consistent. That's like the biggest thing with live. You've got to do it again. You've got to show up every week, every few days, however you kind of set the limit to. There's no right or wrong answer. And if it is someone different every time, it's going to be harder to build that. You want to have TikTok as the place where people recognize it. Like now, my girlfriend would say to me, "Oh, have you seen that guy on TikTok that does whatever?" Luckily, because I work in TikTok, I probably will say yes. But in other cases, no, because there's a billion people on it. Why am I going to recognize it? But with live streams, you can kind of build that familiarity with creators. So if you can get someone internally who likes it as well and has fun doing it, you're on to a winner.
Completely agree. Completely agree. We have a couple other questions about influencers, but I realize we have about 8 minutes left. So I just want to do a bit of housekeeping before we go into these last couple questions. I see people popping in their LinkedIns. Love that. Everybody add it if you haven't. We want to be friends here. As I mentioned before, we will be sending this out via email. Also, let me know. So the email tomorrow will be coming directly from me. If you have any thoughts on what we should do for another webinar, just reply to that email and let us know. We want this to be as useful for you guys as possible. We want this to be a community where we can help each other learn and grow. Awesome. So any tips on how to actually approach an influencer? So like very basics, practicalities, how should we go about it if we're starting from scratch?
Yeah, you hit this one, Ollie.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to be real. Just got to be real. It's like you've got to know that you've looked at their content. You've got to show that you've taken an interest in what they're doing. You've got to show them why you think they're right for your brand ultimately. and just try and build that two-way dialogue. I think it's just being really real. And influencers, if they're a particular size, they've got pretty big egos, let's be honest. So the more you can do to build them up, then happy days. And I think, to be honest, that we are getting away from the days now that influencers will do a lot of stuff for free. They still will, but I think you've got to go into it thinking, right, there may be an exchange of funds at some point here. So I think going in with that open-mindedness rather than just, we'll send you some products, can you work with us? That more on the affiliate basis now. So influencers, yeah, just be real, make sure that you know what their content's all about. Show that you're willing to work with them as well. You're not just going to send them a really prescriptive brief that's nothing like their content. But also know that you're in control. So your contracts have to be absolutely watertight, and make sure they do sign them, basically.
Yeah. And remember as well that they're going to get millions of these emails a day. If you really want to work with this creator, you're going to have to fight the other brands that are trying to get in touch with them as well. So you've got to stand out with your email. I know email marketing is becoming big again because people are finding all these like really bizarre ways to get people's attention. And that's what you got to remember when you're sending out those emails and those messages. You got to think, right, why should they listen to mine and no one else's? Because they're going to get loads.
Absolutely. And one thing I will say, I know paying for an influencer can be a bit daunting, but more times than not, they are willing to negotiate. So if you want to package up a couple of different videos and lower the per video rate, a lot of times they're more than willing to talk to you about that. So don't go in and take their initial rate as Bible. You can absolutely just have the conversation, and it goes with building that relationship, because if you say, we want to work with you over a longer period of time, they're more likely to lower their rates for something like that.
Yeah.
We had a couple, sorry, were you going to add anything else?
Just to talk about paid media, because we haven't really touched on it yet. And what we've talked about is how do you win organically through influencers, through affiliates, and through your own channel, whether that's organic or live streaming. Let's be absolutely fundamentally clear here. The biggest brands on TikTok Shop today are spending tens, if not hundreds of thousands of pounds a month on media spend. Now, that's not to scare you, because you can absolutely get going and start and build that. But where you are seeing these brands everywhere on TikTok Shop, they are either using their own adverts as dark ads, or they're putting media spend behind affiliates or influencer content as spark ads. And I just don't think that anyone on this call should be kidded to the fact that you can make thousands or hundreds of thousands of pounds on TikTok Shop without an element of media spend that sits behind it. So if you are going into TikTok Shop, think of it as if you are advertising on Instagram or Amazon or Google, and have a pot of money, again, whether that's £2,000 a month to start with, £5,000 a month, whatever that may be, because that is what will drive your performance.
Yeah, and you've always got that to fall back on as well. Like, you've still got the affiliates to try, you've still got influencers who might do it for free, happy world, but you can still do the organic side as well. Like, the paid is this where the success is, but if you picture that as something you can fall back on if this doesn't work, try everything else as well, because you can get started with that as well. And if you automatically go to the paid side, you're just going to see it as every other platform where it's like, oh, I have to pay. Whereas TikTok should be that opportunity where you can try things for free and make it work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, while they are spending a lot of money on the platform, the very successful ones are spending a lot of money on the platform. TikTok right now is one of the cheapest platforms to advertise on. So you don't necessarily need these tens of thousands of media pounds or dollars or whatever your budget is. You can get started with smaller budgets, test the waters, work with certain affiliates. But it's just to show, it's like when you look at somebody's TikTok shop and they've sold tens of thousands of products, more than likely they have media spend behind it. So we just want to just break the facade. This is not this viral platform, even though that's kind of the history of TikTok. Right now, it can be a pay to play realm, but there are absolutely opportunities for you to go in with lower budgets, work with affiliates, work with influencers, build those relationships, because it is still very much that authentic person to person platform that it was when it started as well.
Yeah.
We have, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, and also, I mean, what we're saying with Spark ads in particular is if you can get an influencer or affiliate to post content with your product, they're actually doing the video production for you. So the problem with paid media is that you often have to pay a creator to produce a piece of content for you to run that advert. Now, if you're actually working with an affiliate or an influencer, then they're already creating the content. So it actually becomes cheaper to advertise because you don't need to pay for content as well.
Absolutely. So there are some ways around it, but there's also the way straight into it. So you can just think of, like we said before, there's no one size fits all approach to TikTok in general, but also TikTok Shop. So find what works for you guys. Test, and learn, and then also ask us any questions if you need anything. We have about 2 minutes left, so I want to kind of end it on a little bit more of an open-ended question. Where do you see TikTok Shop being in about 5 years' time?
I think it'll just be even bigger than it is already. Like, I don't think I can actually comprehend how big it will be. Because if you think back to 10 years ago, I wonder how big, I don't know, Facebook will be. No one could really comprehend how big it was going to get, how huge it was going to be, and how much of an impact it was going to have on people's lives. Just like TikTok, if you think 5, 6 years ago, let's say before lockdown, none of us knew how much TikTok was going to affect. Like, look at our company. We are a TikTok agency. I don't think any of us really expected that. So now this is TikTok's new thing, who are the masters at growing a brand and growing a product. I literally cannot even comprehend where it's going to be. And that's exciting. So that's how I look at it.
Love it. I don't follow that. Yeah. I mean, just echo those points. I think what you'll also find is that other platforms will get scared. Like TikTok say their biggest competitors are Google, Amazon, and Netflix. They're not even asked about Instagram and Facebook. They're not even worried. I wouldn't bet against seeing vertical video advertising on Amazon very, very soon, because they have totally changed the way that people purchase. I only see live stream shopping getting bigger, and the brutal reality is it's here, and it's here to stay, and it's only going to get bigger. And this is working in the UK currently, where we're very scared about asking for money. And Melina, I know you'll hate this, but Christ, you put this in the States, where they don't mind asking for money and they're a bit more upfront and a bit more confident. If it can work in the UK, it can work in any market. I totally believe that. And TikTok have got enough money to put behind this to change the way people act. And that, I think, is the reason why it's only going to be bigger from here on in.
Absolutely. And I actually have a stat to back you up. I just read something yesterday that said TikTok will have 33.3 million US social buyers this year alone. So imagine, as that continues to grow, as TikTok continues to get more and more users and buying on the platform becomes more and more regular, this is just going to continue to take off. I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to say TikTok Shop could be the next Amazon, and I'm going to end it right there. So as I mentioned before, this will be sent to you in your emails. I'll also include a link to each of our LinkedIns. Add us, join the conversation. I know Ollie and Matt post every single day. I should do better at posting, but yeah, join the conversation. We talk about TikTok. Let us know what other webinars you want to see. We have the next 2 already planned out, so check out our LinkedIn for any announcements on those. But we hope to see you again in the future. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And yeah, have a great day. This was amazing.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everyone.
team.
Legends.
Speak to you soon.